Hello and welcome back to the channel. As mentioned on the latest episode of the One Report that you can check out right now, where we recap the One Friday Fights 81. We've got One Fight Night 25 this week, but I thought that we would keep this one separate rather than putting it in with the Friday Fights stuff because there was plenty to get to there as it was. I didn't want to overcrowd that One Report episode. So here we have it, One Fight Night 25. One Championship returns to Lumpinee Stadium this week, October 4th. Well, Friday/Saturday morning, depending on where in the world you are. If you're in the US, it will be Friday night, of course. And yeah, this card is fairly strong, I think. It's well, it's where are we feeling with this one? I think it's a good card. There's definitely some interesting matchups here. There's some potential talking points and things like that. I would say it's a good one. It's not necessarily the best one we've had this year, but I think that it's a good. If you were going to ask me to rate out of 10, I'd say it's probably like a 7 out of 10 fight night card, which is kind of what you should ask for. I know that sounds weird. Like, why would we want 7 out of 10 when we could have 10 out of 10 every time? Well, you can't have 10 out of 10 every time. Especially with these fight night cards, when we've got this in the middle of some big events. We had 1168 not that long ago. We got 1169 coming up. We just had that big Friday fights cards. So expected, I think. Let me pull this card on screen here. And we will have a look. I am currently blocking the face of Alexis Nicolas, who is the one lightweight kickboxing world champion. He will be defending the belt against Regian Eersel, the former champ. These guys met earlier this year at One Fight Night 21, where Alexis shocked the world to some degree, dethroning Regian Eersel, who was on a ridiculous run. I can't remember how many fights in a row he'd won in one championship at that point. I want to say it was like 10. But yeah, he won. He became the champion. Beat him over 5 rounds. The fight was actually scored as a draw, but a second round knockdown. There are no draws in one championship, if you weren't aware. And the second round knockdown for Alexis Nicolas gave him the verdict there, because of the draw. So now they are going to run it back. I know that Regian Eersel, well, I mean, he's got married since that first fight, so I'm sure that's taken up a fair bit of time. But he'll want to get this belt back, of course, and get revenge over Alexis Nicolas, and I think he can do that. I would still pick him as the favorite in this fight, despite being very impressed by Alexis last time out. His power in particular seemed like a big difference between the two of them. But you saw, Alexei started the fight well, obviously got that knockdown in the second round. And then the later rounds were when Regian really came back into it and really started to dominate. And I kind of feel like if you think of it as we're going into round 6, because these guys have already fought 5 rounds against each other, I just feel like Regian is going to be able to avoid getting dropped. And if he doesn't get dropped in that second round, he wins this fight. So, or wins the first fight, I should say. So I think he'll probably reclaim the belt, but we will find out at Lumpinee Stadium. In the co-main event, we have Kong Torney taking on Tagir Kalalov. This is a really fun fight, I think. I'm excited to see Kong Torney back in there. Tagir is coming off of a loss to Nakrob. Kind of alternated wins and losses, but fought a lot of the top guys here. So interested to see how Kong Torney does. And I'm happy to just have him back on these a fight night card rather than a Friday fights card. That's a cool spot for him. Talk about cool spots. John Lineker back in the Muay Thai division at bantamweight. He's going to be taking on Russia's Alexei Balako. Lineker made his Muay Thai debut just last month. Yeah, September. Well, yeah, on the date of recording this, just last month. September 6th, 1168 in Denver is where he made his Muay Thai debut, where he stopped Asa Tempao and looked very impressive. And this is the exciting thing about having John Lineker in Muay Thai is, one, his style translates already quite well to it, but also it means he can be more active, because Muay Thai fighters fight a lot more frequently than MMA fighters do, and it looks like we're going to get John Lineker being active in this bantamweight division. And I love watching John Lineker. I think that it's a hell of a lot of fun watching him in Muay Thai because he basically does what he would do in MMA, but he doesn't have to defend takedowns. That's a lot of fun. I like seeing that, and I like seeing how Muay Thai fighters are going to deal with him because, of course, you would say, okay, what does Balico need to do to win this fight? Well, he needs to keep Lineker off of him. But that is so hard to do unless you are a really, really top level striker. And don't get me wrong, of course, all the people in this division are going to be skilled strikers because we're talking about bantamweight Muay Thai. But are they going to be skilled enough to really trouble John Lineker? I don't think so. Not until we start to reach those real top level guys. I think. Again, the next matchup, I'm super into Bokang Masinyane taking on Mansour Malachiev in the strawweight MMA division. This is why I think that this fight night card is pretty good because we've got some fights with some stakes here. You could potentially be looking at the next title challenger, whoever wins this fight. Of course, you would imagine we have Joshua Pasio as the world champion, who I'm not sure what the time frame is on his return following his injury. In the meantime, Jared Brooks went and became the interim champion, beating Gustavo Ballart. You would imagine that a trilogy fight to unify the belts between Pasio and Brooks will be next. But I do think that the winner of this fight between Masinyane and Malakiev could be next for them. Bokang, I believe his only loss still in one. Yeah, his only loss is to Jared Brooks. So there's potentially a narrative there, after losing to Jared, he's going to beat Hiroba Minowa and Kato Yamakita. So a win here for him against Malachiev would be a big deal. And I believe in Malachiev, his only loss is to Joshua Pasio. Yeah, he's beaten Jeremy Miado and Yosuke Saruta on either side of that. So either way, whichever guy wins this, you've got some interesting narratives there. You've got Bokang hasn't fought Pasio, but he has lost to Brooks, and Malachiev hasn't fought Brooks, but he has lost to Pasio. So I think that makes a lot of sense, especially when you look at the wins that both of those guys have got. Then you've got the return of Sinta McClinby. He is going to be fighting in the lightweight Muay Thai division, as always, taking on the debuting Yusuf Asuik. Could be butchering that surname, so I do apologize. Fun fight. Interested to see how Sentiment looks. Atomweight division, Ayaka Miura taking on Jihin Rajuan, which could end up being quite a significant fight in this atomweight division, considering, where we're at right now with Stamp's comeback and Denise was going to fight for the interim title against Rasohina on this card, and that didn't end up happening. So you could end up seeing the winner of this go on to fight, a top contender, I think, realistically. We have up next the return of flyweight Muay Thai exciting talent Johan Estupinan, who takes on Zakaria Al Jamari, who, of course, had that big win over Tong Poon not that long ago. I say not that long ago. It was in May. That's not too bad. But he did get absolutely ran through by Alif in August at One Fight Night 24. I would expect Estupinan to probably do the same thing. His fight at 1168 against Climaco was unbelievable, and I think definitely showed some weaknesses in his game in terms of being a bit too overzealous, prioritizing offense over defense, but it makes him a hell of a lot of fun to watch. Clearly, One Championship are pretty high on him because he's been very active this year and fought on some big cards. He's fought, he made his debut on Friday fights in May, then fought a 1167, then fought a 1168, and now he's getting another quick turnaround here. So they're clearly high on this guy, and he's a lot of fun to watch, and he is a kill or be killed fighter for sure. So I'm excited to see that. Hiroma Minowa versus Sansar Zakharov. This is a fight that was rescheduled from 1168 in Denver due to, I believe it was visa issues for Zakharov. So clearly this is a fight that One Championship, they've doubled down on it. They want to put this one together. I think they're quite high on Zakharov, so we will see how he does against Minowa, who has fought a lot of the top guys in this division, but maybe hasn't lived up to the potential that some, including myself, thought that he would have when he arrived in One Championship. In the atomweight Muay Thai division, you have Scotland's Amy Perney taking on Israel Shea Cohen. I am very excited to see Amy Perney back in action here. I caught up with her in an interview for Violet Money TV that will probably be up around the time of this video, so I'll make sure to post about it anyway. But go over to Violet Money TV and have a look for yourself, I suppose. Amy had a phenomenal one debut against Yu Yao Pui last time out at One Fight Night 24. Stopped her with a brilliant shot. Was it first round? I remember it was like a one-shot KO. Was it in the first round? It was indeed 49 seconds into the first round, in fact. How did I forget that? Amy is phenomenal. If you look at her striking record, her resume, it stands up against pretty much anybody in this division. I think that she is destined to go right up there in these rankings. She'd have quite a long layoff between her previous fight and then debuting in one. But it looks like, she's back and motivated to really capitalize on this opportunity later in her career. And I think, as she said to me in our interview, she thinks that experience will be the crucial factor once again against Shea Cohen. Tong Poon versus Rui Batalio is a fun fight. I'm surprised it's that low down, but I guess we've just got big matchups on this card. Batalio, of course, last time out got that controversial split decision win over Zhang Peimian after losing 4 fights in a row. He got beat by, the likes of Supalek and Teiki Naito, and then goes in there and pulls off a pretty big upset, I would say, over Zhang Peimian at One Fight Night 16 last year. And there was talk of maybe him fighting for the title, him maybe fighting Jonathan DeBella for his strawweight kickboxing belt, which obviously he doesn't have anymore. But now Batalio is going to be crossing over into strawweight Muay Thai. I would imagine there's just not too many kickboxing contenders out there for him to fight. So, if he can get a win over here, sure, we'll go with that. If he can get a win over here against Tong Poon, then he's right up there in the mix in this division, I think, and we'll see him in a big matchup after that. And finally, kicking off the card is Daniel Williams, who's going to be returning. I've just realized it's flyweight MMA. I was going to say returning to strawweight. Of course, Daniel Williams has been a strawweight contender in MMA in the past. That is right. He fought Lito Adiwan last time out, right? And but then when he fights in striking, he fights at flyweight. I guess he kind of flip flops between the two. I hadn't really thought about it before. But he did fight DeBella at strawweight, didn't he? Yeah, okay. So I'm not going crazy. So yeah, returning to the flyweight MMA division, I suppose. Taking on Banma Doji, I'm gonna guess. Doji. I apologize. Who looks incredibly young in his photo. He's 27. That makes me not feel so bad. No disrespect to Bama the Prince Doji. What a nickname that is, the Prince. Big fan of that. We'll see how he gets on against Daniel Williams, who, of course, very experienced striking specialist. Has competed in multiple world championship fights against the likes of Jonathan DeBella and Supalek, for Rodtang as well. So very experienced striker, and I'm sure he will look to pose some questions to his young opponent when they meet in the opener of the night. Think that'll do it for our preview of One Fight Night 25. Honestly, after running through the card from top to bottom, I think this is a really strong card. There's meaningful matchups all the way across this card. I think there's intrigue here in terms of fighters that could go on to do big things, and also fighters that are on the cusp of big things if they are able to win these fights on October 4th/5th. Thank you for checking out this video. As always, make sure to check out the One Report from this week for all of your news roundup stuff. Amy Perney interview on Violent Money TV, and I will see you all soon, probably to recap this card next week on another episode of the One Report. Until then, enjoy the fights, and I will see you all soon.